So we're here to talk about cosplaying magic with our friends and with the internet and streaming. So, like, if you're watching this, also hello. Unfortunately, you can't participate because this is... I'd like to keep this panel as interactive as possible, so, like, I would like to only talk about stuff that you guys actually care about. Like, I could talk about wigs for 4 hours, but if nobody wants to know anything about wigs, then let's not talk about wigs for 4 hours. So if you have a question about, like, how we do fabric, or how we do armor, or why we put weird contacts in our eyes, or what kind of makeup we use, I'd prefer to talk about what you want to talk about. I don't so much as have a PowerPoint as I literally just have a folder with a bunch of reference pictures in it. So we have reference pictures, and between Olivia and I, we've done just about a little bit of everything, because we are eternal dabblers. That's a really good way to put it, actually.
Yeah,
so if you have an idea for kind of a good question for us, or like what you'd like to talk about, that would be a great way to start this panel off. So, I don't
probably introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we probably should, actually. Everyone knows who I am. I'm famous. And by famous, I mean I'm a D-list celebrity in a Q-list community, so... Who are you?
I'm Olivia Gobert-Hicks. I cosplay for Magic exclusively. I play a lot of Commander. That's what I do more of, I feel like. But yeah, go to events, yes. Go to events,
eat the
dress
mic.
up like this. Eat the mic, sorry.
Eat the mic. Your eyes.
So, yeah, just try to be pretty active in the community, cosplay for it, and play a lot of Commander.
I am Sydney Stoffel, i.e. Tappy Toe Claws, i.e. that girl who made Cam eat bacon once. I have no regrets in my whole life, and this is just who I am, and I'm a loud dinosaur that people occasionally let talk about magic. So yeah, we're here to talk about cosplay. I've been cosplaying for a really long time. I've been cosplaying magic for less of that time, but actually my first Gen Con, I made a Jace costume, and I have since made every other Jace costume ever, and I have regretted every single one of them. My Unraveler of Secrets cosplay is in a garbage somewhere, and I'm really happy that it is, because I hate it. That's what happens when you make a costume in, a month that should be this huge costume. I actually, that's a story time that we can have if you guys want to have a story time. But again, I would much prefer to talk about things that, like, you guys actually want to hear about. So if you have a particular aspect of cosplay that you'd like to hear about, please let us know. Otherwise...
we'll just start talking.
We can just kind of start talking, too. So, why don't we just kind of start... Actually, you guys might get some previews, because I haven't unveiled some of these costumes, actually. So, some of this is just things that you're going to get spoil on, so that's cool. So, there's basically kind of, like... I like to call it kind of 3 aspects of cosplay. So, there is... the fabric. Yeah, well, I mean, that's okay, sorry, construction wise. Yeah. So, like, the first thing you got to do is you got to figure out what kind of costume you want to make.
Yes.
And all of them are valid, because, like, you can be just like casual Chandra, or you can make a whole costume. I have to paint myself and be a hipster vampire later, so that's why I'm just casual Chandra today. So, like, both of these levels of costumes are totally fine, and you should do whatever one you want. Like, if you're more comfortable just kind of dipping your toes in and putting on a wig and the correct, shirt, then you can also be recognized as Chandra. Like, when I was walking over here, several people were like, oh, look, it's Chandra. And I was like, yeah, all I did was put on a wig and some goggles. And I'm really comfortable right now. Or you can put on a whole outfit. Or you can turn your face into Ralzeric, which I'm going to do tomorrow. And a bunch of artists are going to paint me, and I don't think they know what they're in for.
Yeah, well, they'll find out
I think they were like, I want to all, like, what if we all sign up and paint this girl who was Joyra last year, and all our paintings turned out really well. And I'm like, well, this year I'm making myself look like a man who does sleight of hand magic to impress women at bars, so have fun with that. Except apparently now he actually impresses men at bars. Yeah, we learned that. So... again, if you have questions, please let us know. We can talk about a little bit of everything. So,
and your questions can be completely apropos of nothing. If we're talking about wigs and you're like, actually, I want to know about foam, that's fine. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason.
Between the two of us, we've done most things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, or tried and failed, which is sometimes even actually more convenient to learn from.
We also have friends that are good at things.
Yeah, we know Nadine,
and so, yeah.
who's actually good at stuff.
Yeah, I think one thing to remember too is you don't have to, especially if you're starting, you don't have to be good at everything. You won't be good at everything. You shouldn't be good at everything. If you are,
I'm still not good at anything.
Well, fair. You should be a professional. It's okay to, outsource pieces that you're not comfortable making. I don't know how to sew, so I had these sleeves made for me. I did the rest of the stuff, but absolutely, it's okay.
You did some of it in the hotel room this morning.
I sure did. I reattached things. We were fine. So it's okay to outsource, to not have to feel like if any component is store-bought, it's not good cosplay. It's like, I'm not going to sew myself a plain white shirt when I could just buy it and then put adornments on it to make it what it needs to be. So don't ever feel as though you're restricted to all handmade, perfectly staged screen or art accurate, or it's no good. Like, that's a false choice and you shouldn't make it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for example, and so much of cosplay, like, the reason that certain costumes are impressive are because of the photos that we take. Like, this picture, I hate that costume. I hate everything about that costume. Again, that is the aforementioned Unraveler of Secrets costume. That is in a garbage somewhere. That picture looks amazing because my friend is a wonderful photographer, not because I did a good job making that outfit. I did a pretty good job on, like, my makeup and stuff, and that wig is, like, hand cut for my face. And there's a reason that the only part of that costume you're seeing is this up, because I hate the whole thing. But that costume looks killer. And again, so much of cosplay is just getting a good photo. So, like, here's another one. Here's another example. Pull this up, please. So this costume I made in like 2 weeks. Armor is turns out armor is actually really fun and really easy to make. I used all of the Kamui costumes patterns. She's amazing. She's a German cosplayer who did a lot of the work originally for Worbla when they were kind of trying to roll that out and make it a thing. Her patterns are like, I think it's like $4.99, right?
If even that.
Yeah. You just download the PDF and you can print it off as many times as you want. It's so nice. It also really helps that I am exactly her size, so I don't have to modify any of the patterns, but they're very easy to modify. When my girlfriend made Kaya, we had to seriously modify a lot of the Kamui patterns because my girlfriend is a short, curvy lady, and Kamui is not. But so this is all like something that I, again, literally made in 2 weeks. Everything is bought except for the armor, and I made the horns, the ears, the armor, and then the shoes I actually had from something else before. So, because again, Lorwyn elves are the best elves because they have horns and hooves, and they are basically the coolest. So, but I bought everything else. Do I have a whole picture of...
So we're going to be rambling a bit too, but does anybody, anything, even if it's just getting started, like what you want to
we would like to talk about things that you actually care about versus
like
me just like talking up
questions
here
and helping instead of just yelling at you. What's up, yo? There's a microphone right over here if you want to...
Otherwise, you can just yell at us.
Yeah, you can just yell at us too. So
it's totally up to you.
The question is, how do you want to begin the whole process? Is it getting a challenge? Is it, what was the second part of it that you said? Just that you want to be the character or something like that. For me personally, it's finding art that I enjoy. It's like, okay, there can be multiple aspects to it. Like, obviously I like the character of Tizi, otherwise I wouldn't keep wearing this. But having a character that you like, if it's a commander that you use often, if it's just, whatever it is that speaks to you, can be the catalyst for wanting to do it. You don't have to make it a challenge if you don't want to. If you want to piece something together, if it's store-bought and it's simple and it just conveys the message of, hey, I am, in costume for this character, that's a perfectly acceptable way to do it. If you do want to accept the challenge, be like, I'm going to make stuff, I'm going to do the armor, I'm going to make it like this, you can take that on as well. Personally, I enjoy the challenge. I find art that I like, and it's like, man, it'd be sweet to wear that piece of shoulder armor, and then start making it, see how much I can fail, and then wear it anyway. So
yeah,
you can definitely take it whichever route you want. It can be, an act of personal expression, like the character resonates with you, and the story, the backline, the card even just speaks to you, and you want to bring it to life. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And sometimes you do want to take on the challenge. It's really, that's one of the things about cosplay is it's extremely personal, and you can make it what you want it to be. You can take it whatever route you want. It can have as little or as much meaning as you want to give to it. So the nice thing about that is you can invest yourself and the craft as much as you feel necessary. You never have to, if you want to keep pushing yourself and set a bar, and the only, there's no bar to clear, it's only better, better, better. You can do that, and you can just make one and have it super chill and only wear it when you want to or at certain events. World's your oyster as far as that goes.
Yeah. It's very much an issue of, there are definitely costumes that I have made that I'm I really want to learn how to actually get better at armor. That Nettle Sentinel costume was I haven't made armor in a long time. And the whole reason that I made Nettle Sentinel was because I wanted to make an elf to hang out with Dana Fisher, because she's, the best Magic player ever. And she had pointed out, in her 7-year-old way, she's like, you've never made a green card. You should do that. You should make an elf. And I'm
Isn't that the worst call out we ever got? She's like, you've never done anything green.
You've never done anything green. And I'm like, green is my least favorite color in Magic. I am very Izzet, and this one's extremely Orzhov. So together we make Brea, which is awesome. And we don't play any green between the two of us. So Dana was joking that we should, make an elf. And I was like, all right, if I'm going to make an elf, I'm going to make the broken combo elf that untaps everything else, that does stupid Johnny things, because that's what I like to do. I don't really care if I lose a game of Magic. I just want to do something heinous before
She actually ended up texting me and was saying, hey, I'm making an elf because Dana wanted me to, and I think it was because
Kendra was in the Pauper thing, and Kendra plays elves. Yeah.
So we started looking at Pauper elves, and it's just all right, I guess I'll be Well-Wisher. Let's make a combo.
Yep.
So there's a reason too. If you have a bunch of friends and you have some broken thing and you like all the art and it's all feasible, be a combo pack and just walk around. We're this, and this.
And kind of a very silly thing about Magic, and I think I have most of the pieces here together because I have the Nettle Sentinel art. So an interesting thing about Magic is you usually end up with a picture about this size. Sometimes there's only one. So this was Nettle Sentinel, and I was like, I have to make a whole costume for my whole body based off of that I got in a Google search. Sometimes, every once in a while, WotC is really nice, and they send you an entire reference list of Ralzeric, and then you can actually make the whole costume. But sometimes you also end up with this, and you're like, how do I make that? What is that? So what you end up doing is you kind of scour Google for you're like, okay, well, Nettle Sentinel is an elf. It's from Lorwyn. So let's look at every other Lorwyn elf that we also have. And all the Lorwyn elves have, obviously, horns, and they also have hooves. So even though she doesn't have hooves in this picture, I basically just Googled a bunch of Lorwyn elves and figured out kind of what the rest of them look like. And then, so I went from that, and this is just a really cruddy picture that I just quick kind of drew up on my tablet. And I was like, okay, this is, I think, what she's maybe supposed to look like. Let's go with this. And I basically sent this to Olivia, and I'm like, this is what I'm making. So
Horns, please.
Horns, please. Yeah, please make me horns. And that's a great example. Is Olivia and I constantly do stuff for each other. If you have people who cosplay that you already know, or friends that you can kind of do. I'm a lot better with wigs than I am with armor, or at least I am a lot faster with wigs than I am with armor. So I was like, Olivia, will you make me horns if I make you your wig? And
yeah. So I think especially mentioning this, using that artwork, one of the unique challenges, I'll say, with Magic cosplay is you almost never have a full set of reference art. A lot of the Planeswalkers, I think one of the reasons the Planeswalkers are so ubiquitous as far as cosplay goes is because we have the most art of them.
Yeah, there's 9 million pictures of them.
They're in a ton of cards. You see them in different poses, different positions, slightly different outfits from here to there, but there's a common theme, a motif between them. So you can piecemeal something together, and it will easily be recognizable as, oh, this is Liliana.
Yeah,
if
you want to figure out what Liliana's dress looks like, obviously there's a lot more references for Liliana.
You have 10 cards to look at. You have innumerable pieces of art that are out from the artists and, reproduced at different sizes and better resolution. But sometimes you find someone you like, and you get one side of them on a 2-dimensional small surface, and you get to be, okay, neat. What does the back look like? I guess it's up to me. and you basically get to create your own canon. But that in and of itself is actually kind of a challenge, because at least, especially with this Tesa, the most there is the side profile that Magali Villeneuve did, just for the Tesa Karlov card.
Yep.
There's no back. I don't know what's happening, waist down after the belt. You just have to make something work.
She could be wearing sweatpants.
She could be. I wouldn't blame her.
I mean,
everything else looks very heavy. So you have definitely the challenge of maybe you cannot be perfectly to the art because it's just not drawn. You don't know what the artist had in their head. You don't have any reference beyond that. So it's nice to accept the challenge and be able to be creative and say, okay, well, what would fit? What aesthetically matches what the character is being portrayed as in the art that I can extend? So it's clearly not going to be sweatpants. So what would it be? What would make sense in my head when I look at this and extend the art beyond, the 1 and 1.5 inch square or rectangle, that's on the card? I don't think that it's really as much of an issue maybe in other fandoms or in other,
because like for anime and stuff,
we get a very limited amount of reference. So we get to take it where we want to after that, which is interesting, but it's also very fun because you really get to push boundaries creatively and kind of take ownership of the character and the cosplay you're making, because there are aspects that are uniquely your own that just aren't portrayed elsewhere officially.
Yeah. Well, and a really good way to kind of attack that, if you're not making a Planeswalker that has a billion pieces of art, basically what you're going to look at is Magic is really good of like every plane is sort of based off of something. So like say we were going to make brand new costumes from Eldraine, which is obviously based off of like King Arthur's Camelot Court and Grimm's Fairy Tales and stuff. So if we had like we don't have, sorry to break it to you, but we don't have a Magic preview card to show you right now. But if we were looking at a new character from Eldraine, say like, the Rapunzel character, and we kind of see her from like this way up, we see all her hair, and she's out a window, so you don't know what the rest of her dress looks like. You can, however, kind of be like, okay, well, Eldraine is based off of like Camelot and Grimm's Fairy Tales. So what if we looked up a bunch of dresses from that thing? Or like Tesa is from Ravnica, which is like old 1800s Prague. It's literally just Prague, Nostrovy. So you can look up like, what were people wearing in 1800s Prague? That's what we should have done for Ral Zarek, but instead I just, didn't.
And that's one of the nice things, is that since art is such a large part of Magic, you have an entire world built out in front of you, every set that you can use for not exact reference, but a direction.
Yep.
And then you get to look at a lot of really awesome art, which is also very nice. But it's helpful that you have that. It's definitely a creative challenge, because sometimes, at least personally, I like trying to be as accurate as I can. Like within reason, I'm not going to kill myself over something like not having exactly the right details.
Tesa doesn't wear foam. What if that was that definite? It's definitely all metal that you have there. So,
that being said, you still have an aesthetic that's been developed over a set that you can pull from and be like, all right, would this fit if I saw this? If I, put myself mentally in my mind's eye in Ravnica, and I saw someone walking down the street, and they were affiliated with this guild, does that make sense? Would I know? Does it look like that should be what it is? You can go with it from there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions?
Was that a good answer to your question?
That was a very long answer,
yes.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Because again.
Anything.
Yes. Sure.
Talking about making wigs looking natural. Tappy, take it away.
I am the wig person.
She's very...
Actually, I literally have just like so many pictures. These are 3 different wigs. And I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to wear as, a 12-year-old boy, i.e. Jace. So I have a giant head, and I have a lot of hair. So there's basically like tons of different ways to put a wig on your head. This is some weird body paint, but you can see it in this picture that I have what's called a wig cap on my head right now. So what that is it's basically like a pantyhose for your head. And it keeps all your nasty hair back up inside of the wig. And I have another picture, I think, of just my regular hair. Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
So I promise if I can fit my hair in a wig, anyone can.
That's all under this wig
That
right
is all
now.
under this wig right now. And you can't see most of it. So, like, that's pretty cool. Again, I got that wig onto my head.
So is it a matter of styling them to look more natural that you're wondering about, or just like the whole application from start to finish on making it? Okay.
Yeah, so what I do, again, with all that hair, what I do is I braid it underneath. Here's another picture of me with just a wig cap on. So I braid it underneath, and I do like the dead anime mom side braid, because I actually don't know how to braid my hair past like one thing. Unless my girlfriend is around to French braid my hair, I just braid it like the same way every time. And basically I wrap it around my head, and then you put the wig cap on. And then you can kind of see it in this picture. There's something called, it's a velvet band, basically, because again, Ralzeric's, like, I have a lace front on Ralzeric. So you put that on, and you know how velvet has like it's got a grain to the fabric? So you put the grain against where the wig is going to pull, so the grain, the friction of the velvet kind of helps it stay on. And then you can, put your wig on. So this wig is a lace front wig, which basically means that the wig, like the nap of the wig, there's like the regular part of it, and then it actually extends down where it's got like a
it's a mesh lace in front of it.
Yep, it's a mesh lace, and all the hair individually is hand tied. So all of the white in that hair, I went in with a needle and I tied a bunch of white into this wig to make myself look like Doctor Strange.
Steampunk Doctor Strange.
I'm Steampunk Doctor Strange, yes, excuse you. So the way that you make a wig look natural is you basically kind of have to, speaking of wigs, it's eating this mic. You basically kind of have to decide whether you want to go for a more natural look or a more stylized look. So one of the best ways to make a wig look natural is to cut it yourself. Every wig out of the bag is kind of going to look like it came out of a bag.
Yeah.
So the difference between, say, like the middle Jace picture and the one, so 2 and 3. 2 is out of the bag. 3, I have hand cut the bangs to fit my own face. Anytime you can hand cut a wig, it will be so much better. Like the bangs, this is actually out of the bag, but I love these curls, so I didn't want to mess with them. But everything else, so obviously, like, again, 1 and 2, out of the bag. 3, hand cut the bangs. So I like to use what's called like a shaping razor rather than actually cutting them with a scissors. Because if you cut bangs with a scissors, they will look like
they're blunted.
They'll look
very
mechanical. You'll look like you just cut them mechanically. You'll never get like that perfect feathered look like this unless you do that with a shaping razor. You can buy them at like Sally Beauty or Walgreens or anything like that. And you actually literally, they have like razor blades that you slide right in there, and you kind of just, it looks like one of the razors that like Sweeney Todd uses on people to kill them, but it's a...
Thank you for the clarification.
I'm really surprised they ever asked me to do anything.
I know. We're still here, so...
I can't believe...
We're going to keep rolling.
I can't believe they were like, let's give this girl a microphone. Yeah, spoilers.
Sorry,
Spoilers for a Stephen Sondheim play that came out in the 50s. I'm sorry. I think the statute of limitations is up on that one. So there's basically a few different ways to cut a wig. I like to start, if you ever have to like say this wig started here. I would hack it up with a scissors to where about I needed it to be, and then I would go in with a razor. Because the thing about a wig is a good quality wig, they're plastic fibers is basically what they are. So the nice thing is that they should be, the average wig that you buy should be heat resistant now. Most of them are. But that also means that it will dull the ever-loving crap out of whatever scissors or razor or your, kitchen knife that you're cutting your wig with, because plastic likes to dull the crap out of metal. So I like to hack it off with a scissors and then go in with the razor and like the sculpting and just kind of like go like, you're basically like, you pull the hair, and then you just go like this until it kind of starts to look like the way you want it to. I always start longer than I need and go up from there because, you can always cut more hair off, but you can't add the hair back in once you cut
plastic,
it off.
Yeah.
And then, some wigs are never going to look natural. Like, some wigs are going to be weird. Like, this is Tamio's wig. It's only ever going to be weird.
Which is fine. She's at least not human. So
she's not human, and it's going to be crazy. I have another picture of, where is Lena? Some wigs too, like, you kind of want them to be weird. Like, this is we cosplayed from Final Fantasy, so I did the curls and the bangs on this wig in kind of a more anime style than, I mean, Magic is nice because it's generally a more realistic interpretation of fantasy than some other ones, but, like, sometimes you kind of want that, like, really big, like, you want that big poofy bang, and you kind of want this, like, very cartoonish hairstyle, and sometimes you want to look like a 12-year-old boy or Justin Bieber, and you do something like this. So one of the nice things is a lot of wig companies have started to make more natural-looking wigs or, like, weirder options.
Yeah.
So this is an undercut, obviously. So, like, it's got the big bangs in the front, and so you could, you know, look like Justin Bieber, and then it's got it's, like, literally just
cut short in the back.
Very, very short in the back.
I think another thing, too, to consider, if the naturalness or the ease of ability to wear a wig, check the hairlines on the art too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if somebody's got something like this, I mean, thank goodness I finally dyed my hair back to brown, so now all I have to do is just pull it back. It's like, I'm Teza, ta-da!
Yeah, she's just got...
I just have a fake...
Some added hair in the back.
Added ponytail thing. But it's always helpful to look, hey, do they just have, like, a nice little, you know, side part? Aces, no problem. You're never going to have to see that hard line on the front, so just throw it on, you know, wrap a French braid or wrap a braid around your head, put the wig cap on, throw it on. You won't look lumpy. Nobody will see the wig lines. Aces. You have to go a little more work into something that's going to be a lace front, or it's a pulled back hairstyle, or they just, you know, have nothing covering their face and nothing covering that hairline.
Yeah, the other
so
thing...
just be cognizant of that, you know?
And the other thing I would say about wigs, like, maybe more than most things, is, like, for wigs, you really get what you pay for. Like, the Rouse Eric wig, even as short as that is, that wig is $80. But it's because of the lace front, and it's because it's a really nice, huge
it's
wig.
It's labor intensive for the people who make it.
The average cost of a wig, say, like my Jace wig, the average cost of that wig is probably, I think it was $30 maybe, and that's pretty short, but... The other nice thing is that wig has lasted for, like, 10 years. As long as you take care of it, you know, give them a brush every once in a while. Wigs love to be washed, so they can totally... You just have to be careful how you dry them. Make sure you wash them in cool water, because hot water will make the way that you curl a wig or set a wig or do anything with styling is use heat, because, again, it's plastic. So wigs will stay in whatever shape you let them cool in. So basically, if you get a wig hot... it will do whatever it's doing, and then if you let it cool in a weird shape, it's going to get stuck that way. So, like, every once in a while, you put a wig on, like, the back dash of your car and forget about it for a while, and you're like, why are all these fibers, like, at a direct 90-degree curve? It's because I left it on the back of my,
Yeah, it basically turned into roadkill, and then you have to, like...
it lived in my Volkswagen for a little while, and now it's screwed up. So, I did kind of ramble, but did I mostly answer your question? Okay,
Yay.
Cool.
Anything else? I see you laughing. The question is about incorporating your hobbies and careers into cosplay. Hi, I see the call out. Thank you.
Thanks for just feeding that low ball over
great.
home plate for us. Thanks.
If there's stuff that you do in your real life outside of cosplay, outside of your hobbies that you can transfer in, you absolutely should. I don't think it's much of a secret for those that know me. I do metalsmithing. I am a bench jeweler by trade, and I'm not uncomfortable with metal. So what do? I make a 2-pound brass Liliana tiara.
I have a picture of that.
That is affixed on a headband. I don't even think you have the finished one. I think you have it when it weighed like 20 pounds because I hadn't cut that relief out yet. Yeah, there it is.
That was the one you made when you were really stupid, and you're like, I can keep this on my head for 8 hours.
And then I cut those sides out, and I still try to keep it on for 8 hours. It is heavy as the head that wears the crown. That thing is brutal. But, yeah, absolutely incorporate things that you already know how to do. If you're really good at sculpting, like modeling, or just like any kind of clay, if you feel pretty confident, like, yeah, I can make something out of it, and it's humongous, but make it. Try a mold out of it. Then try it with, like, paper clay and do the whole thing over again. It's like all of a sudden you have this really lightweight piece that you could paint and then attach to yourself somehow. Don't ever be afraid if you have a talent or skill elsewhere that you can apply to do so.
You'd be surprised how many ways you can use
translate,
other skills.
If you're good at woodworking, you can build foam.
Oh, yeah.
Period, end of story.
Yeah.
If you know how to put a table together, I swear.
I promise you can make armor.
Even if you can put an IKEA table together, honestly, because then you have an understanding.
That's not nothing at all.
I know,
I can't put an IKEA table together.
But then you have an understanding of how attachments need to work and how you're going to need to secure something to another piece for it to be stable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you do woodworking, if you do anything like that, anything where you know how to put a 45-degree angle together to give yourself a nice clean edge, you're going to be fine working with EVA foam. Yeah. There's a lot of things that translate. I think a lot of people, especially with Worbla, it's very intimidating because
it's expensive too.
It's expensive. That's, I think, actually the biggest.
A sheet of Worbla is like $80.
Yeah, a big one.
Foam is wonderful.
Foam is great.
Love foam, and I will. There's a reason why a lot of people who even Kamaway, who worked for the company who did Worbla, was like, what if I just made everything out of foam instead?
It's light. If you make a mistake, you're out 30 cents.
Yep.
I mean, a full 5-foot sheet by like 2 foot is, I think, maybe $13.
Yeah, $10 or $12.
You can get one sheet, some razor blades, some contact cement, and a heat gun under $100 and probably make 2 good, like, full sets of armor. Not like, battle mech armor, but like a chest piece, some pauldrons. For that, make a ton of mistakes, learn absolutely everything you think you could, and then just make more mistakes later. But you can get so much mileage out of that kind of thing. And being able to, it's as simple as tracing a pattern onto it, cutting it out, and gluing stuff together. It's only as intimidating as you want to make it. If you want to freehand something, you hope it's going to work. This is me, 72 hours before a con thinking, I can put this together. I can't, by the way. You can give that a shot. And if you have that kind of spatial awareness in your head where you can see, okay, here's a complex curve and here's how I need to make 2 pieces of paper to make it do that, that's exactly what the foam's going to do. It's a flat sheet. It's a little bit thicker, big deal. So you can take competencies elsewhere and transfer them in. Like if you have that kind of spatial awareness for assembling things, for building things, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's just new scary materials, but again, buy a $12 sheet of foam and all of a sudden you realize, actually I'm pretty good at this.
Well,
and then learn from somebody else how to paint, or honestly, if you have things that you're good at and you interact with other people that cosplay, or you go out of your way to like, hey, you know what, I have always loved your fabric work, blah, blah, blah. I actually know how to make X. Is there any way we could work on a trade?
Yep.
Is there something that you need that maybe I'm actually pretty good at and we can make an exchange? So it doesn't have to be this huge intimidating process of I nailed everything except this one part and I have no idea what
Olivia
to do.
has never styled a wig in her life ever.
Absolutely
because I've done every single one for her.
Correct.
And I don't mind, because I would rather do that.
And then she shows up to cons and has horns and armor and everything. I'm like, no,
and everyone's like, where did that come from? I was like, Olivia did this in like
That's
4 seconds. So to Olivia's point, this is basically kind of what a foam pattern looks like. Technically, you guys haven't seen this because I haven't told anybody what this is, except a few people in my Patreon know what this is, and you can guess if you want to. But this is half of a breastplate, so that's going to be mirrored and cut out into foam. Technically, it's already done, but this was the pattern that I had when I was doing it. So all of these scales are kind of going to be like layered that way, but you can kind of imagine how it all goes together. And it's very similar to the way that you would cut out fabric, actually. I love foam. Let me show you, I have some of Ralzeric's stuff that's like halfway done.
So other stuff too, while she's pulling these up, if you are intimidated by anything, YouTube is your friend.
YouTube is a wonderful friend.
This is the one time YouTube is actually your friend. There are a lot of really talented cosplayers. You can search, honestly, I don't even use Google anymore. I look on Instagram and find cosplayers because a ton of them will link patterns that they use. They'll have their own. As long as you can afford them, just get them. And then there's tutorials on, like how to duct tape yourself to get
how to make a pattern
out of it that are completely accurate to you, which makes it all the more helpful. And then you don't have to be intimidated because they fit.
Duct tape pattern.
But it seems daunting, I think, just from the sheer number of steps, but in all honesty, if you break it down, if you give yourself plenty of time, it's really not that bad. It's pretty easy to get into, and as you learn, and as you make mistakes and, start doing patterns, you'll see, forgive the repetition, but you'll see patterns emerge of like, hey, I always need to make this thing in this way.
Yeah.
This is how it turns out, this is how other people are doing it, and it just starts getting filed away. So then when you're attacking something you haven't seen before. It's like, if I break it down, I've done this kind of curve before, I've made this sort of attachment before, and then I just put them together in a way I hadn't considered.
Yeah,
and
anytime you
all
can...
of a sudden, this really scary project is now just two things I've done before, I just haven't done them at the same time.
Anytime you can break something down into very small, manageable pieces is fantastic. So I made, this is another Final Fantasy thing, just because, so like all these random pieces are just foam, and then I eventually, worked and glued them together, and they become like that eventually. You just kind of have to work in very, very small pieces. So like this is, there's a really bad Final Fantasy game that nobody but me liked, and it's called Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and I love it, but I wanted, to make the Crystal Chalice so that I could definitely not fill it with anything that wasn't water and
it's
drink out of
like
it
it's
with
a
a crazy straw. It's like a crystal chalice. It's supposed to hold this magical myrrh substance. I put cocktails in it, but it was
normal
fine.
fantasy.
Yeah,
stuff.
normal fantasy stuff. So basically, what this is it's just a bowl that I made, and then I cut I cut the crap out of it. So this is all foam, except for the that darker gray stuff is epoxy sculpt, which is another wonderful material. That's a little more expensive, but epoxy sculpt is. Oof, it's the coolest. It's actually the best.
If you're ever intimidated by the sheer volume of what seems like reagents you can use for these sort of things, don't hesitate to message some of the creators that you like on Twitter, or like send us an Instagram or whatever.
I might forget.
Ask in comments. Yeah, we can't promise we'll get back to you.
Yeah,
but
you might
also,
have to ask a few times because I'm pretty dumb.
Some people, may have already asked the question as well, so I always read through stuff. But there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing things. And just because someone made it one way doesn't mean you're locked into doing it the same way. And if you find something where you're like, I have never seen this texture, I've never seen this executed, this doesn't look like foam, just ask. We're almost always going to tell you what it is we use, how we did it, and be like, Godspeed, because it's
like, here's the pattern I used. You can have it right here.
Uh-huh.
The other thing, I think some of the best advice I ever got was from Ashlyn Rose, actually. And it's fail faster.
Yes.
So, like, if you have to work on something and you're terrified of doing, like, the scariest, hardest part of the costume, do that first.
Yep.
Do that first.
And don't hem and haw over doing it.
Nope.
Just execute. If it sucks, great. Now it's over. You know what not to do.
Yep.
Do it again.
Do that thing first.
Fail faster.
Like, especially, I would never recommend making your first costume on a time crunch. Like, we do that to ourselves, but I've made enough costumes that I know, it takes me about a week to make, like, pauldrons and knee pads and a chunk of armor. It takes me about a month to sew anything because I hate sewing.
Same.
Even though I can't.
Hard same.
Like,
I cannot.
I still can't. It takes me a night to do a wig. I did Olivia's wig over Christmas break.
Yeah, that Tameo
Olivia's
came
Tameo
out
wig
fast.
came out immediately. And that was like 90 parts, but again, that's because I know that like that was a thing that I like to do a little bit better. So, giving yourself the time and the space to fail is really important.
Don't be afraid to just absolutely suck. I think, so I love telling people my first cosplay I ever did was Liliana, and it was the full Worbla armor, everything. I'd never touched the stuff before. I gave myself like 3 months. I was super proud of it, even as, like, I didn't heat stuff correctly, so a lot of stuff was like disattaching and didn't use a pattern, just kind of hoped for the best, wung it, and then put it on. It's exactly like 2 sizes tighter than my ribcage, and it's like, I don't care, I gotta wear it now.
I'll fit in it.
It is too late. So I went for it. I spent a lot of money going for it, but I gave myself the time to absolutely suck at it. And I did, but nobody ever saw that because I gave myself enough time to be, okay, here's where I screwed up. Thank goodness I haven't painted it yet, and that you can recycle Worbla and just re-roll it out into sheet and try again. So you have to, if you're going to start something new, and even if it feels ambitious to you, is that con in a month? Maybe don't.
Yeah.
Maybe don't.
You suck at everything until you don't.
Start, make the cool little headpiece or something so you can wear it and be like, it's just some flavor. Don't hurt yourself. Don't burn yourself out, because if you have a bad experience like that where you did get in the crunch, where things were absolutely crazy, you're not going to want to do it again, because you're going to feel like that's always the expectation. That's always how it's going to be. And it doesn't have to be. You can, if you do one cosplay a year, you're crushing it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're really proud of it and you're happy with what you made. If you are rushing and feeling like, I hate this cosplay and I cannot wait to throw it in the trash.
Jace Unraveler of Secrets.
Exactly. Maybe reevaluate your process.
I had a breakdown in the hotel room when I was putting that costume on because I hated it so much. Don't do that.
Don't do that to yourselves. Just don't. Be kind to yourself too.
And again, I can't emphasize enough, like, the best way to do cosplay is with other people.
Yes.
Like, find your humans, find the people that, or dinosaurs or whatever. And you will have so much better of a time if you find, like, your people and your little niche of humans to do it with. And especially, too, like, we've talked about, asking other people questions and kind of outsourcing, like, hey, I don't like to do fabric. Can I make you a wig instead? But even just, like, having somebody to be in cosplay with and to kind of, like, experience an event and, like, do this whole thing, that is so important. So, like, I can't emphasize that enough. Like, definitely find your people and, do your stuff.
It's helpful, too, that the magic thing, like, the gathering is literally part of it. It's in the name. But that we kind of have a unique opportunity. We have a unique world that we can delve into that's been, crafted over 25 years and has a lot of history and has a lot that can be drawn from. So even if, you don't have to make friends with every other cosplayer, so you could be like, hey, we have the shared experience. There's hardly anyone that does this in Magic. How's, like, oh my God, I love how you did this. What was it? It doesn't matter what level you're at. You can always learn something from someone else.
Oh, yeah.
And you can, you can make a connection there with people in our community, be it another cosplayer, another someone else. We're all super close with Dana because she's like, I love your costumes. It's like,
sometimes you're in, 10-inch heels that have this much surface area you're standing on, and an 8-year-old books it towards you, and your life flashes before your eyes because you're like, this is how I die.
And then your power lifter friend
and then
up from the front.
And then Olivia comes in like a bolt from the blue and saves your life. Dana Fisher almost killed me. I love her, and I was like, you know what? I'll take this death. This is a good death.
But there's a lot of connection that can be made from this, whether it's just appearing at it, showing up at an event, even if someone doesn't say anything, if you're having a good time, that's really all that matters. Yep. You're bringing something else to it, whether people are, don't want to approach you or too shy to say otherwise, that's fine. Just be confident in it, like, revel in the fact that we have a community that's allowing for this and we still get to participate in everything that we do here. So, we're always happy to help. We love interacting with people and talking with people. It doesn't have to be about cosplay. You can tell us what trash our decks are, too. Like, we're all about it. So, just don't hesitate to embrace the gathering part of it.
For sure, definitely. So, I think we're pretty much done. But if you have any other questions, like, feel free to, like, I don't have anywhere to go immediately. So, eventually I have to go paint myself like a hipster vampire. But, like, I've got a little bit of time if you guys want to talk to us personally. Obviously, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We technically both have Patreons, too. We have fun Discord communities. I still have to mod you so that you can make things work for me. Join our Discords. They're super fun. Thanks to, Chris and the team for bringing us out. Gen Con is amazing,
absolutely.
And make sure that you have a lit time because Gen Con is the best 4 days in gaming.
For sure.
This is Olivia's first Gen Con.
I know, it's really
And we have goodies for you.
We have goodies for people that ask questions and for who attended the event. Don't forget the Royal Courts of Eldraine for the Eldraine set.
Get excited about fairies and make Bitter Blossom Spike. It's cool.
Stop it. So we have gifts for you guys. Don't forget the set coming out in September. And thanks so much for coming.
It looks so amazing.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Yes.